Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Making a good trilogy is hard enough, so when it comes to the fourth film in a franchise, most of the time it's hard to keep the quality going. Sometimes we might be returning to a franchise after a long time, sometimes it's a quick cash grab. Here we go with our top 10 fourth movies in franchises, but first, here's Neil with 10 fourth movie facts.
Thank you very much, Pav. So what I thought would be interesting today is if we found out what the highest grossing fourth movie installments are in the world. So at number 10, it is Shrek Forever After with $752 million.
But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
At number 9, Thor, Love and Thunder, $760 million.
I must break you.
At number 8, we have Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, which took an amazing $790 million.
He's back! He's back!
At number 7, we have Ice Age Continental Drift, which took $877 million.
What a lovely day!
At number 6, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire with $897 million.
I want you to meet Forky.
At number 5, Star Wars The Phantom Menace of $1.2 billion.
This is very, very bad.
Good time.
At number 4, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, which took $1.04 billion.
Avengers!
Number 3, Toy Story 4, $1.07 billion.
Assemble.
At number 2, Transformers Age of Extinction took $1.1 billion.
What's going to happen when you release the whales?
And at number 1, Jurassic World, $1.66 billion.
Ooh, big bet for a big man.
Yay, there we
There
go.
we
Fourth
go.
movies in franchises. Some are good, some are bad, but we are going to count down our top 10. And joining us this week, actually, I think this was his idea, so we will find out why we've got him to blame. It's one of our new top heads. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Chris?
Hello.
Finally, we get to talk to the man.
Hello. Yeah.
How are you,
Audio
Chris?
issues earlier.
I know, it was a stressful start to
I'm
the
good.
recording.
Yeah, and then in the middle of your top, running through the top 10, I got a message saying my internet is unstable.
Oh, my
So I
goodness.
don't know what's going to happen.
Oh,
Well, this may
But
end
yeah,
up being one that's heavily edited to get rid of all the bits and pieces, but
we
who
will
knows?
battle on. That's
We
what
will-
I say.
we will
battle
battle
on.
Now, if I remember correctly, this was your idea, wasn't it? The fourth movies in franchises. Am I right in that?
Yes, it was.
And why?
Yeah. I gave a lot of suggestions. This is the one you chose. You chose this one, so
I did.
technically it's both of ours.
And why was that on your list?
I was looking through. There are so many part 3s to movies. I just didn't like. So I'm thinking, all right, let me look through part 4s. And then I found that there were more part 4s of franchise movies that I liked than part 3s, which is kind of strange. But I'll probably mention some during the course of the podcast. But yeah, I think there were better part 4s than part 3s.
But there's definitely a mixed bag, and there's also what your interpretation of a part 4 as well is, which I think I've got on one of mine. I'm gonna have to put it through to you two guys to find out whether it is actually a fourth movie of a franchise. But we'll get to that. We've got a lot of movies that we're going to talk about, I'm sure. Chris, start us off with your number 10.
All right, let me make sure I got it right on my phone here. I think it was.
Frozen.
Right, now either he's thinking really hard or is...
My number 10
there we
was American Reunion.
Okay, from the American Pie series.
Yeah, and this is another one of the ones where I don't know how many people. Yeah, I don't know how many people liked part 3. I know I didn't. It certainly it went away from the format of the first two, and it probably didn't help that some of the cast wasn't there for the third one. So, and luckily everybody came back for the fourth one, and it kind of went back to what we remember from the first two. So that is why I put this here at number.
It's
10.
been a while since I've seen it. I think, well, to be fair, this will sound like a total film geek, but I've only ever seen it once, the reunion. But I do remember enjoying it. It.
Right. So was number 3 The Wedding? Which one was was American Pie The Wedding? Wasn't
yes.
or is that what Reunion was?
No, Reunions was when they came back older.
No, American. Yeah, American Wedding was the third one, and that was missing some people.
Right. I don't even know if I've seen
Chris Klein wasn't there.
Right.
Have you not seen the reunion? There's a bit where I can't think what his character's name. Jason Biggs.
Yeah.
Is it a saucepan or a saucepan lid where he tries to cover his modesty, but it's one of those clear glass ones.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which is quite, to be fair, it's a very funny moment because he thinks he's done it to cover it, but everything's squashed and at full view.
Oh, right. No, I haven't.
It's quite.
I'll have to.
There are some really. That's one of the bits I remember from it. There was some very funny moments. Was that the one where Alison Hannigan's in the bath as well and everything goes wrong? You know, self-pleasuring
at the beginning. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there is some quite funny bits in it. It really is.
I'll have
and they were the class of 99, which was my graduating class in high school, so it kind of fits for me.
Well, very familiar, was it?
What have you been doing to pies, Chris? I mean, I know you say that. No answer.
that is just too far, sir.
Yeah.
No.
How dare you get so personal?
Yes, especially on the first one. We haven't even started yet. Okay, good one to start with. That's one to. I'll probably start watching it and think, oh yeah, I've seen this. Of course, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Go on then, Neil. You're number 10.
So I've gone for none other than Rocky 4.
Okay, that's my number 4.
Ooh, blimey, yeah.
That's my number. That's my number 8.
You're number 8. Oh, there you go.
This is where Rocky became sort of stylized over story, really, to me. But it has got some defining moments. We've obviously got the death of Apollo Creed. Spoilers. Should have said spoilers before.
That's fine. Don't worry, Neil. It's a 30-year-old movie, probably longer. No, not older.
We got the great James Brown giving us a performance in it.
Ow!
We've got we've got the obligatory montage of training.
More than one.
Yeah,
now, I would say there's at least 3 good training montages.
I would say the best one's in the snow, isn't it?
Yeah,
where he's training over in Russia, and then of course you've got the East meets West fight that I suppose everybody was waiting for, especially in the 80s when this was released.
Well, that was Sylvester Stallone's thing, wasn't it? Really, whether it was Rambo. This was Stallone in his true like Rambo 3 phase when that was Americans versus the Russians.
That's it.
It was, but he was like, I mean, that scene where he's doing the sit-ups over the edge of the barn. If you can remember that, and he's like he's leaning into nothing and then doing his sit-ups. And I had the soundtrack for this, and I went to the cinema in our hometown.
Oh, did you? I
for
went
this
to
one, and it looked awful. It looked terrible. But the moment that Rocky actually clocks Ivan Drago for the first time, everybody in the cinema just got up and cheered because he was being pummeled and beaten to a pulp, and he manages to, at the end of one of the rounds or something, clocks him one, and you actually see him bleed, and you thought, yes, he's going to get him. But that was the beauty of the Rocky films.
Yeah.
Is music and the action, and the fights even now, they look ridiculous. They look absolutely.
I still think the first one isn't quite so. The first Rocky, which is to me is more of a sort of realistic.
It's a character piece, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more of a character piece. Whereas sort of you get to the third one, everything's changed, and then you get to the fourth one, and it's those big stylized, like you said. But yeah, where would this rank in all of the Rocky films for you, Chris?
Oh, this would be my favorite of the bunch. I think this is the one I rewatched the most, and I think the soundtrack itself may just vault it to the top anyway. Because there's that I can think of. There's not a bad song on it.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Hearts
Yeah,
on
great.
Fire. There's no easy way out.
Well, they brought Survivor back, didn't it? Was that
Bur-
Hearts on Fire?
No, Burning Heart was
Burning Heart,
yeah,
that's
where they had
right.
another massive hit. And I think they put Eye of the Tiger on the track again.
Oh, did
But
they?
some of the instrumental bits, I can remember. I got a punch bag when I was living at home. Still, then I was like, you know, what year was it? 1987, I think.
Five.
85.
Was it
So
85?
I was
Okay.
16 and I got a punch bag and put it in the garage, and I would put that soundtrack on, and I would just punch hell out of that thinking I was Rocky. It was crazy. Oh, when I didn't, I
Yeah.
looked nothing. I looked like Rocky Road ice cream. Probably I didn't.
You just
look
spoke like
Rocky.
him after
Yeah, I
training.
I did. But it was very uplifting. It made you want to go out and train. Just that music, just some of the instrumental music. It was amazing.
It just never snowed, did it? So we could run up the snow.
No, it didn't. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that anyway.
Hey, we would have tried.
No,
you know?
definitely
we would
not.
have.
Definitely not. But there you go. We've all got that one. So that's a good start. Okay, my number 10, controversially possibly, is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Now, Chris is ready to unsubscribe to Patreon and turn the thing. I will say the reason I've got it in my top 10 is because of the first 45, 50 minutes of the movie. I think it's a good Indiana Jones movie. It's just when you get from the point of Shia LaBeouf swinging with the monkeys, that's when it just loses all appeal for me. So as an Indiana Jones movie, I think it's pretty good up to that point. And then it's too reliant on CG. It's not... The only thing is, I would say, is that it's a Spielberg Indiana Jones movie, which is everything that was wrong with the Indiana Jones movie that came out a few months ago. You know, it didn't feel like a Spielberg Indiana Jones movie. So controversial, I know, but I'm going to have it there as my number 10, mainly for the first 45, 50 minutes. Now I'll leave it to you two to really slag me off and discuss why it shouldn't
Well,
be
we'd
in my
never
top
do
10.
that, would we? Because it's your list.
No, but
But
why?
shall we, Chris? Shall we?
But
Yes, yes, yes.
yes. So why would you say, Chris, it shouldn't be in my top 10?
Well, I'm thinking about myself. I just did not like that movie, and the concept of, spoiler alert, of aliens or whatever it was at the end. It's just, that's not Indiana Jones to me. I just did not like it. This is where the part threes come in. I loved part 3, and I still need to see the recent one. I'll watch it. It's on Disney Plus, I think, so I'll watch that soon. But yeah, the first 3 were just so much better. I feel like maybe they didn't even need to. I know, money talks. They decided to make another one, but yeah, I think money is. I mean, I think just it could have been left alone after the first 3, personally.
All valid excuses. I do agree with everything you just said.
But also the look of it just didn't look like an Indiana Jones movie.
Do you not think?
No, not at all. I mean, all right, there's moments it does, but the rest of the film it doesn't. Like you said, the CGI is too much in it.
That's what I'm
dated
saying.
Dreadful.
That opening scene where they're in the warehouse, I think, feels like pure Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
When he's escaping and when he's swinging, and he thought, damn, I thought that was closer.
Yeah.
That was all like practically done. You look at the opening.
Didn't you think the moment he went into the fridge on the testing site was a bit?
Yeah, I mean that was ridiculous. Yes, like I say, I'm not saying that this is not my number 10 movie, like greatest movie of all time. I'm just saying in regards to the number 4 movies that we've got to choose from, I'm classing it as in there. Wait until my number 9. I mean, you haven't heard anything yet, so.
Oh boy.
Police Academy 4.
Oh shit, Neil! Why ruin it? Don't ruin it. That's my number 1. Okay, Chris, what's your number 9?
You played a snippet of it there at the end. Vegas Vacation.
Okay.
I actually am not that big of a fan of the other 3, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I think this one connects with me because I'm a Vegas guy. I've literally been going. Fun fact: I've been literally going to Vegas every year, and I've been every year at least once, sometimes more than once, since I was in 6th or 7th grade, so the early '90s. So this one hit pretty good with me. I saw it in theaters. It's the first one of those I saw in theaters. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
Wow. So what is it about Vegas that you enjoy?
For at the beginning it was gambling, but I've limited myself gambling wise just to poker. Now it's about just the atmosphere and the weather, and because I usually go in the wintertime, and the food. There's so many great restaurants out there.
Right.
My favorite restaurants are probably in Vegas, so that's nowadays that's the main reason.
Right, right. And are you planning to go again this winter?
Yeah, we had a streak there with me before me and my brother went to college, where me and my brother, my parents went to Vegas right the day after Christmas every year for about 6 years or so. We went, and I'm probably going to do that again this year because I haven't been yet. I used to play up until COVID hit. I was playing in the World Series of Poker every year, so I would usually go out in June.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm going to go for usually come back on the 30th. There was one time, God knows why, we decided to stay on New Year's Eve. That was an absolute mess. We lost my mother at one point. She's so short, she just kind of disappeared in the clouds. So, yeah, never doing
when you went
that
back
again.
the following year.
Yeah, never doing that again. We come back on the 30th. So.
Oh my God. So, and any plans to take in the U2 show while you're there this time?
I don't know.
It seems to be the big thing.
My main thing is usually going to the restaurants and playing some poker. So
Yeah.
if I have time, I might.
Yeah.
Be worth seeing, wouldn't it?
So
Be worth seeing.
Yeah. So you said the World Series of Poker. So how well have you done on the World Series of Poker? Have you sort of made some money on that? Not being too personal, but you know.
Yeah, I had a big streak at one point where I was making money, not necessarily at the World Series itself, but at each casino has their own like poker tournaments that they hold every day. So I was making money off of those. And then the last time I went, I actually cashed in an event. And if somebody hadn't gotten lucky on me 2 hands in a row with runner, I don't know if you know the terms, but runner straight twice in a row, I would have made it to the second day of this one tournament with a big chip stack. But a guy got lucky. So, but I made the money there, and I made the money in a smaller tournament that it's not doesn't coincide with it. It's part of the World Series, but it's not a bracelet event. And there was a huge amount of people in that, and I actually made the money in that too. So
wow.
And my dad, who plays, is very jealous of me of that. So you can find me in the World Series of Poker website if you look my name up.
Wow.
I cashed a couple of times. I cashed in a circuit event, which is where you win a ring instead of a bracelet.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
There you go. So now we know that Chris has a poker face, ladies and gentlemen. So we can't read what his thoughts are in case we know what his number one is. We're never going to find that out unless we double up or chip up or whatever it's called. You have to wear a mask next time you do the podcast, Chris. Okay then, Neil, you're number 9.
So I'm going Shrek Forever After.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I enjoy this movie, or moments of this movie. It's better. I think it's slightly better than the third one. It goes back to some of the basics. Shrek is the first two movies I think are pretty much nearly unbeatable. They're great films, great soundtracks, great comedy. And then it sort of lost its way a bit. And so I thought I'll put the fourth one in because it did find it a bit if you watch it now. You know, there's some great moments where it resets itself, doesn't it? Shrek goes back to a world where he's not the person he thinks. You know, Fiona's has no idea who he is and everything. And it's sweet. And the thing with all four Shrek movies is the heart that Shrek has and the good little story that I think everybody should get to know.
Very good. Fan of Shrek, Chris?
No, I don't know if it's the animation or what, but I just can't get into those. And you know, even as a kid, I wasn't huge into some of the animation movies. I did like there was a few. I liked Oliver and Company, which was Billy Joel, but and a couple others like American Tail and Land Before Time and things like that. But For the most part, not really. Again, the animation that and Pixar and the Toy Story movies, I'm just kind of it's. I don't know what term I could use for it, but it's just kind of it's off to me.
Right. It's more the CG kind of animation, isn't it, as opposed to the old style Disney animation.
Yeah.
DreamWorks as well, wasn't it? Wasn't it DreamWorks that did it?
It was DreamWorks who did Shrek, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. My number 9, controversially, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Pav, that's my number 5.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's grown on me, that movie. I'm actually liking it more and more I see it.
I mean, again, it's not the original trilogy. It's some of the the special effects I think are, you know, I'm not going to say they're not sort of like before their time, because they're not the same way that the original trilogy was. I just think that that it set the precedent for where the story was going to go, and I didn't quite agree with that as much as when the first time I watched it way back in '99, I think it was, I came out of the cinema and thought that was the greatest movie I'd ever seen. I'd seen episode 1. I didn't think we were ever going to see an episode 1, and it was amazing. And then, you know, I've kind of warmed to it a lot more. But then again, I thought about it and I thought, should this be the 4th movie? Because they did have Caravan of Courage and the Battle of Endor as movies as well, didn't they, that came out? So would they be classed as the...
But were they a different... I don't know.
They weren't part of the trilogies.
They weren't, no. But Caravan of Courage was the first one that came out after Return of the Jedi. So in theory, that is the 4th movie of the Star Wars franchise, if you like. But I thought, no, I'm not going to worry about that crap. I'm going to just put episode 1. It makes it a lot more comfortable for me to do it that way. So yeah, I had episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and like I say, it seems that everybody seems to be warming to it a lot more now because they are comparing it to the sequel trilogy, and the fact of how bad, like especially Rise of Skywalker was. Everyone's going, actually, The Phantom Menace wasn't that bad. That was pretty good, you know. So
well, it has some great moments, you know.
And the best lightsaber duel, I think, that the whole Star Wars movies have had.
You know, the pod race.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Still to this day, holds up really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shame about the trade embargoes on a used certificate film where kids are just watching it going,
exactly,
no idea what that is.
And I also think Anakin shouldn't have been that young, because it wasn't fair on Jake Lloyd, because he was just doing what he was asked to do. So
yippee!
Yeah, indeed. Are you a Star Wars fan, Chris?
No, I wasn't until they re-released here. I don't know if they re-released for you guys, but in the States they re-released them here in '97.
That's right, for special editions.
Yeah, and my dad was a fan, so he took me and my brother to it, and then I got hooked on them. I do like there's a couple that are bad, and I don't know if we should. My list has a Star Wars on it, and number 7. I know we haven't gotten there yet. I don't know if we should talk about it now or wait.
No, we can talk about it now. What have you got?
I kind of cheated. My number 7 is Star Wars Episode 4.
I had this.
Part 4.
I actually had this conversation with my wife before I came in here, because she said to me, "What's in your top 10?" I said, "Well, Episode 1." She goes, "Well, that's Episode 1. That's not number 4. It should be number 4." Yeah. So you're well. I'm going to put it. Yeah, I'll put it down, because I think some people would class that as the 4th movie in the franchise.
I think it's generational.
I think it's generational. I agree.
I genuinely do. I think it is generational. You know, are you the same as me? Was that the first movie you saw at the cinema?
What, Star Wars?
Yeah.
The first one I can remember, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the first one I saw at the cinema. And so it's always the first installment to us.
Yeah, but the way I go about it is, if somebody who's never watched Star Wars before asks me what's the best order to watch them in, I say 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Because if you watch them in order, then the massive spoiler that's in Empire Strikes Back gets spoilt in the first hour of the movie, because you find out that little boy is going to be Darth Vader. Spoilers, if anybody doesn't know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. But I think it's absolutely fine that you have that in there, Chris, because yeah, my wife said exactly the same thing, that surely Episode 4 is the 4th movie in the franchise. It'll be interesting on comments that we get in YouTube and when I get emails saying, well, no, it should be number, you know, I'll be looking forward to those comments. So please leave the comments and let us know what you think. Okay, Neil, your number 8, please. Oh, so sorry. So before I say that, Chris, your number 8 was Rocky 4, which we've already talked about. Neil, your number 8, please.
So I'm going back to Sylvester Stallone. I'm going Rambo.
That's my number 3.
Oh, wow. This was a return. I really like First Blood. I think First Blood is one of the great movies out there. It's underrated a little bit, I think, but it's moving, it's action-packed, and it does, it's a perfect 90-minute movie and pure entertainment. We got to the second one, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but he became a superhero. He didn't become a human. He became a superhero, and then came to the ridiculous third one, where he had the longest hair I think Stallone's ever had. And
third one was a cartoon, wasn't it?
It was a cartoon. And then we came back to Rambo, and he's, a shyer. He's sort of become almost reclusive and takes the people down the boat into Burma, and then all hell breaks loose. And we're back to proper, I say proper violence, but we're back to big screen violence, almost shocking violence again. It's brutal.
Absolutely.
I think Stallone is really good in it. The story holds up. It's enjoyable. It is, to me, it's enjoyable. Now, I know,
it's hard to watch. There's some really, really horrible, sort of really bad violence in it. Gruesome, gross violence. But
it's a strong 18 in the
It's
UK.
Unapologetically violent.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a slow burn as well.
He did it to show the atrocities that were happening in Burma and things like that. That's what it's all about, and that's why he didn't hold back. But I think he has quite a liking for that sort of violence, because we go to Rambo, the new, whatever it was, I can't even remember what his underscore title was.
It's just called John Rambo, I think.
Is it? I thought
Last Blood. Is it Last
Blood? That's it. Last Blood. And that's brutal.
Yeah.
And it didn't really need to be that brutal. It was brutal for brutal's sake. But I think the fourth one does it really well.
I agree. Chris, Rambo fan?
I've seen bits and pieces of the original bunch, and the last two that came out in theaters, I've seen both of them, and I like them. Especially the most recent one. I really, it was different. I know it's different from most of the other kind of the motivation that he has in these movies. Because he was some family member got hurt, and he was going after the guys that did it. So I do like the most recent ones, and I probably have to go back and look at the originals to see what I think.
Yeah, number 2 and number 3 are definitely 80s movies. You can feel that they're 80s movies.
Well, number 2 was written by James Cameron.
It was written by James Cameron. But the thing is, it was Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Die Hard were the two movies I used to watch the night before I went paintball shooting to get myself in the mood to go and hit people with paintballs.
Tighten the headband.
I used to do, and I can remember going to the cinema to watch Rambo 2, and I'd read the book. Neil, I'd read the book of Rambo 2.
The movie
so I knew that there were going to be like nasty bits. And I can remember sort of cowering in the seat, waiting for the moment when someone was going to get blown up by an explosive arrowhead, and spoilers and stuff like that. So I was like preparing myself for it. But yeah, I really love those movies. I think they're all really good movies. Some of them a bit cheesy. Rambo 3 is very cheesy.
Yeah.
But
it's a shame when it came out in this country, it was cut, wasn't it? It was edited.
Yeah.
I think you can get it uncut now.
You never want
that. It shows the start of the brutality.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, my number 8 is the fourth movie in the Jurassic franchise, Jurassic World.
That's my number 6.
Is that your number 6? Okay. I knew we'd have the same kind of ones, Neil. Always happens. It's a remake. It's a soft reboot of Jurassic Park. It's got the same tones, the same bits, kids flying, running around. But I think it's got one of the greatest third acts of a movie I've seen in a long time. When I went to the cinema, I was very surprised and very happy with the way that the movie, like the whole way that it finished. It was so satisfying, was the word I was looking for. It had a great ending. Chris Pratt, I think, is a great leading man. Bryce Dallas Howard running in her heels from a Tyrannosaurus Rex was good. A couple of little moments that, people that got what they deserved as well. And it's just a really good action movie. The other two in the trilogy have been very disappointing, I feel. Dominion was the last one, wasn't it? And I can't remember what Last Kingdom was the was the second one in the new trilogy.
Yeah. Dominion was pointless.
It just,
I'm going to be honest.
I don't understand how could they drop the ball? Was they started off really well, and then the last two movies just sucked basically. So, Chris,
money rather than a story.
Exactly, Chris, Jurassic fan.
You know, as a kid, I loved dinosaurs, and I would always go to the library and get books on dinosaurs and look at them. But I don't know why, but Jurassic Park, when I saw the first one, I don't know what it was, but I just did not like it.
Right.
And I haven't seen any of the others.
Yeah, you haven't missed much. I'll put it that way. Yeah, which like I say, it was really strange because especially the way that the second one in the trilogy ended, you thought, wow, this is going to be man versus dinosaur, in populated areas, on mainland USA, and it's going to be just mental. But it was not that at all, was it? It was all about locusts and
honestly, I've forgotten it already after watching it. It is a terrible movie.
It was terrible,
and especially when you got all the original cast back, and they do nothing at
all. Yeah, I genuinely thought somebody of note was going to die just to give it at least something. But spoilers, none of them do. So there you go, Chris. You haven't even got to bother watching it. We've told you all about it. So there you go.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, so Chris, your number 7 was Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. Do you want to say any more about that, or are you okay?
No, I don't think so. It's not my favorite of the franchise, but I certainly wasn't going to pick Episode 1 over this. So I was like, all right, this is technically an Episode 4, so I'm going to put it in.
That's fair enough. Like I say, that's more than right. So, Neil, your number 7, please.
So I'm going 4th in the James Bond trilogy. In this,
do you want to start that again?
Yeah, I'm going 4th in the James Bond franchise. I meant to say Thunderball.
Okay.
We spoke about it loads, and I recommend you go and listen to the Bond one to hear my full views on it and that, because it was in there. But it's a great one. Great Sean Connery. I love Sean Connery as Bond. I've been re-enjoying them again, and I think with some of the underwater sequences that is in Thunderball is fantastic. Story's great. I don't know what it's a Bond movie, and it's done very well. I think it's good. A lot of people dislike this one. Are you a fan of the Bond movies franchise, Chris?
Yes, my dad. It's another one my dad got me into. That one was a lot younger than the Star Wars, and I love this franchise. Every one that I've been able to see since I think GoldenEye was the first one I saw in theaters. And if we were doing part 3s, I'd have put Goldfinger in there because it's my favorite of the Bond movies. Thunderball and From Russia with Love are a little down on the list for me, but I like some of it. I like a lot of the goofy Roger Moore ones better than most people do. But again, Goldfinger would have been on this list if we were doing part 3s. It'd be up there pretty high. But I love James Bond.
So which one's Thunderball, Neil? What's the story?
That's the third one where you've got
third one, fourth one.
Thunderball is the 4th one. Sorry, yeah. I was thinking of Goldfinger.
Jesus Christ, man, come on.
It's the story. I mean, I fear of repeating myself.
Is it spies and girls and guns and
somebody wanting to take over the world?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Goldfinger, and I was
no. Why would I talk about
Goldfinger? I was even thinking that, hence the confusion.
Oh,
but yes,
dear.
it's got some great moments. It's got a lot of the underwater one, and they also remade it with
Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, Never Say Never Again.
Right. Okay.
That's where they redid it. So, which is not actually too bad a movie when you watch it now.
I actually enjoy that one.
Yeah,
that's not an official Bond, though, is it? That's not an official Bond movie, is it?
It's a Warner Brothers version.
Oh, there you go. How do they get away with it then? Do they still not? Do they not have any of the James Bond trappings, like the gun barrel at the start and all that? They don't have any of that.
The way they did it, they used everything that wasn't Bond, but hinted at Bond, if you know what I mean.
Right.
It's bizarre.
So does he not say my name's Bond, James Bond in it?
No.
Oh,
not that I remember, Chris, does he?
I'd have to go back and watch. I feel like he might have, but I mean, I know they call him Mr. Bond a lot in the movies, so I know his name is mentioned.
Right. Okay.
Can't remember that exact.
But they had to call it something completely different. It had to be completely written brand new.
Right.
Which back then they were trying to convert all the books.
Yeah,
It's a bizarre one. It's that wrangle, isn't it? Hence why Sean Connery came back for it.
Right. Okay.
Kim Basinger's in it as well.
She is. I do know that. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, that's your number 7. My number 7, we're going into Toy Story world. So it's Toy Story 4. It's not my favourite one of any of the Toy Story movies. It's my 4th favourite, but it gets into my top 10 movies of 4th movies. It's got a great cast, as all the top Toy Story movies has. Tony Hale as Forky, Keanu Reeves as Duke Nukem, the Canadian Evel Knievel, which was a load of fun. Let me see, Christine Hendricks, Jordan Peele, obviously Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Annie Potts. For me, it's things like the animation is just like so realistic now. If you go from how great the first Toy Story was at that time, you look at that compared to what it looks like now, it's just incredible. But I felt like it had to be in there for me for my.
The reason it didn't make my list, and I remember loving it, is I've only ever seen it again once, so I've forgotten a lot of it. I need to watch it again, but the problem is I remember coming out of the cinema thinking, well, it was good, but pointless.
It was, because it was basically saying the same thing again. It was like, because Toy Story 3 finished so well, spoilers, with Andy giving his toys to the little girl, and it's sort of like moving on and growing up. So going back, but then again, they're making a Toy Story 5 now, aren't they? They're going back to the well again.
It frightens me that it's a cash cow now, not a movie.
Yeah, well, that's what it's going to be. Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, similar. I think I mentioned it earlier. Similar to Shrek, it's the animation. I saw the original. I can't remember what year it was, but I was in gym class and they were using the gym for something else. So our class just kind of had to sit in the auxiliary gym and just sit there. So they were playing this movie, and I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. But what I saw, the animation just kind of threw me off for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and I have not seen any of the others since. Maybe the same with the Jurassic Park. Maybe I should go back and look at them again and see if there's something that I missed.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the first 3 are great movies. This one's a good movie, and it made it my top 10. So there you go. Chris, your number 6, please.
Die Hard number 4. I forget what they called it.
Well, it was Die Hard 4.0 or Live Free and Die Hard, I think was the other.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I like this one because he's a little older now and he's out of his element more so than usual with the computer stuff, and Justin Long has got to help him along the way, and a funny cameo from Kevin Smith, and he has no idea what's going on, but he's old school and trying to and all these people that know so much martial arts and are kicking the crap out of him, calls one guy a hamster jumping around. I just find that one so much fun because it's just, again, that he's out of his element, and I did not like the one after that. That one was good.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
The first 4 are really good.
Yeah, he was an old man in a new age, wasn't he? That was the thing. Yeah. I mean, it didn't make my top 10 because that was the point where he seemed to become indestructible. In that movie, he became a superhero. Where
blowing up helicopters with a car or bike.
Yeah, or whatever. The beauty of the first 3 was that he genuinely looked hurt in every single one of them. And although we got cuts and scrapes in 4 and 5, he just seemed to bullets bounced off him, and if he hurt himself, he just seemed to dust himself off and was fine. But I mean, it is a good movie. It just didn't make my top 10.
It's fun, isn't it? It's what I call a great popcorn movie.
Yeah, is it not in yours, Neil?
No, it wasn't.
Didn't make yours. No,
not quite. No.
Okay.
I did toy with the idea.
Did you Toy Story with the idea?
I Toy Story 4 with the idea.
Okay, Neil, your number 6 was Jurassic World.
It was.
My number 6 is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Oh, that's my number 4.
Is that your number 4? There you go. I've liked the Harry Potter movies more as they went on. I can't watch the first 2 anymore because them as little kids, the acting is just terrible, and it just really takes me out of the movies. Even number 3. Number 4 is when it started to get, because he who shall not be named, Voldemort, comes back basically in Goblet of Fire. Spoilers if you haven't watched it. And it feels to me that this is where it took its real dark turn. And a little bit, and when it got to like 5, 6, when Deathly Hallows, I think the second part of that movie, I think is a great film. It's really, really good, really disturbing in places, considering it's a children's story, if you like. But for me, I had to have that one in my top 10. So Neil, why is it in your top 10?
I think it's a great story. Even one of the best Harry Potters, number 4. You know, it's got the fun of the games, why he's been chucked into these games, the big tournament. You know, they've all got long hair in it. No, it's not. But I found it, we started to relate. I really do like the third one as well, because we came away from the Chris Columbus happy, I want to be Spielberg sort of films to darkness crept in, and the darkness is there, and it's definitely there in the fourth one. I mean, at the end of the maze with old Diggory dead. Yeah, it's I just think it's really good, and we got Jarvis Cocker, my friend Jarvis Cocker.
Your friend Jarvis is in it. That's right, you're right. Yeah. Chris, how are we on Harry Potter?
My sci-fi fantasy world begins and ends with Star Wars, and I guess I've seen all of Lord of the Rings in theaters, but I only saw them once. They're so long, I guess. I have not seen any of the Harry Potter. I feel like it's geared more towards children. I know adults watch it, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, I love Emma Watson, but that's probably for a different reason. But if somebody can convince me, maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'll go and watch them. But
it is definitely, like, say, the first two. It's like they're straight out of drama school, and you can tell, especially Emma Watson. You can tell
the CGI.
The CGI is not great, but like I say, you get to like the 5th, 6th movies, and like Deathly Hallows, genuinely disturbing in places.
I genuinely don't think they're even kids' films. Then, are
they?
No, they're teenagers and upwards. Then,
completely agree. Okay, I haven't got that set up. Let me get this to there because I need to press this. Oh no, I pressed the wrong button again. I need to press this.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Here we go. Pop quiz, hot shot. Here we go. Neil, you need to sort yourself out after your last terrible display.
I know.
So, Chris, you are our guest. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll let Neil try to redeem himself. I'll let him go first.
He's going to go first. Okay.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Remember, it's first one to 3. If you get it wrong, it goes over to your opponent. So here we go, Neil. Who played Rocky's longtime friend and brother of Adrian? Paulie.
Burt Young.
Is correct. Neil's off the board. Chris, here's yours. What was the subtitle for the 4th Star Trek movie? As in the old movies.
The Voyage Home, I think.
Well done. Yes, it is. One for
the one.
With the
whale in, wasn't it?
Okay, Neil. Who starred in The Bourne Legacy?
That'll be Jeremy. Renner.
Is correct. Well done, Neil. Chris, this one's for you. Who starred as the tech-savvy villain in Die Hard 4.0 or Live Free or Die Hard?
Timothy Olyphant.
Is correct. Oh my goodness, look at this. So Neil, you need this for the win. What year was Jaws the Revenge released?
87.
He's done it, ladies and gentlemen. That
was. What was Chris's? Let's see. Oh, come on, we need to give Chris the next question.
I'll give Chris the next question anyway.
Because it could be a draw.
It could be a draw. Okay, and these are set as they're set. I didn't realise where Chris likes to go, but anyway. Where were the Griswolds vacationing in their 4th movie? Yes.
So Chris, in theory, that should be a draw.
That should be a draw. We'll call it a draw because none of you have got one wrong yet. You haven't got one wrong. So I'll throw the other ones out anyway. Okay. What was the 4th movie in the Dirty Harry franchise called?
Sudden Impact.
Well done, Neil. It was. Who played John Connor in Terminator Salvation?
I can't remember the actor's name. I've seen the movie, but I can't remember his name.
Neil?
Christian Bale.
It was Christian Bale. Who
Oh,
voiced...
crap. I was thinking of the third one.
There you go, see? Who voiced Chucky in The Bride of Chucky?
Me.
Whoever, because
Brad Dourif, isn't it?
it was Brad Dourif, yeah. And who played the formidable pirate Blackbeard in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides?
Was that Lovejoy? Ian McShane.
It was. Neil, you're on fire tonight.
Yeah.
Absolute fire. Well done. But I will call that one a draw. Well done.
Yeah, we will. Well
that
done,
was a draw.
Chris.
Well done, Chris. Well done, Neil. Back to the business at hand. So, Chris, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Avengers Endgame.
Okay.
Because that was the, if I'm doing it right in my head, it was Avengers, then there was Age of Ultron, then
Infinity War,
and then this one.
Absolutely.
I'm
right.
going to admit I never got this in my list.
Why have you not got this in your list, Neil?
Because when I was looking at greatest fourth installments of all time, this became quite contentious.
So why would it be contentious?
Well, a lot of people say it should be a joint movie with the third one, and it was in no list of the greatest fourth movies, and I completely forgot.
Well, I mean, I would say originally they were planning Infinity War parts 1 and 2, weren't they? So then I would have said that's all part of one movie. As it's called Endgame, I would class that as the fourth movie. I'm with Chris on this one.
Okay, well, I forgot about it as well.
Neil.
If it had come up on the lists that I looked to remind me what the greatest fourth ones were, it would definitely be very high on my list.
Very high. Okay. So why...
So apologies.
That's fine. Why only number 5 for you, Chris?
Well, there's a few on here that once we get past 3s and 4, get to 4s in certain genres, that's almost like just a few certain genres actually keep going with franchises. So, but we'll bring that up in a minute. But I do love this one. I like that Paul Rudd gets more of a role, because I know he was in Civil War and he was kind of, he had a part, but it was kind of small. And I hated, obviously, I liked the ending of Infinity War, but I hated it because everybody, or half the world died, and we lost a lot of people. At the time in my head, I was just like, wait a minute. I think Spider-Man and Black Panther are getting more movies. So what just happened?
Yes. It was very rare that a movie that size, the baddie won. That was the thing, and it just finished, didn't it? The movie just finished. You thought, well, something's going to happen in a minute, and it just ended. And you thought, shit, this is serious stuff now.
Yeah, and then of course the epic finale when everybody's together. I love that, and I've gone through YouTube. If you ever go on YouTube and look up like the Avengers Endgame, but with other heroes and other movies, there's so many things there, from Jack Bauer in 24, it's like Star Wars people, DC people. It's crazy. They got Shia, for whatever reason, they got Shia LaBeouf yelling in there. I would recommend going and looking at this. Just look up Avengers Endgame, but with other universes.
I will find those videos and I'll put them on our Patreon video playlist so that people they can just come and have a look there, because I need to look at that. I thought you was going to say the audience reactions to the end part, because you watch those as well. And cinema reactions are crazy. It always sends a shiver down my spine when it's the Avengers Assemble moment and stuff. It's so good.
Yeah,
you're very good. Okay, then. Well, Neil.
Yeah. Well, I forgot.
Never mind.
Apologies.
Never mind. Okay, but your number 5, Neil, was Star Wars: Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace. 1.
Yeah. Right. My number 5. Now, this is the one I need to get your guys' vote on. I've gone for Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, officially, it's supposed to be like a Ghostbusters 3. But because you have in the ladies Ghostbusters movie, which is not a good movie, you've got the characters. You've got Bill Murray's in there, and I know that he's not being Venkman and that. Would you class that? I need to know. I need to know from you guys whether you class Ghostbusters Afterlife as a fourth movie in the Ghostbusters franchise.
I would assume, I would suppose. Again, it's another one I never even thought of because I'd forgotten about the ladies only Ghostbusters.
A lot of people have forgotten about that one.
Yeah,
Neil, but I don't know what you guys.
Yeah, I'd let you have it because it is the fourth. I mean, just because I never thought of it, or I mean, other people, I'd let you have it.
Chris is showing his proper poker face now. He's not giving anything away. I don't understand. I don't know what he's thinking. What do you think, Chris?
This is one I struggled over because I thought about putting it because I love that movie and I put it pretty high on my list. But I think of the reboot being in the middle like that. I think of that as its own separate thing because obviously all three, and Sigourney Weaver, all three of the Ghostbusters, living Ghostbusters and Sigourney Weaver were all in the other movie and played different characters. So I don't think of it in that universe. And I think of this as a part 3. Now I know there's a part 4 coming out soon.
Yeah.
But I consider it a part 3, but it's 50-50 right now between the two of us. So I don't know how we decide.
Well, because of that, I'll leave it in there because I can't be asked to change my top 10 after all this.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I'll be getting messages saying you can't have it as a top for the reasons that you said, Chris. It's because I love the movie. I really love the movie. I think it's such a sweet movie, especially at the end. What they do for Harold Ramis, I think I want to put it in there just for that, just to be able to have that on there.
Yeah, I don't get emotional at movies. Every time I've seen that movie four times, every time it comes up, I get a little.
I know. I'm exactly the same. I feel exactly the same. Okay, so I will keep that in there then. Chris, your number 4 then, please.
Oh, well, to number 4. Here's where I was talking about. After when you get to part 4s and beyond, it's mostly horror movies. So my number 4 is Friday the 13th, part 4, which was technically called The Final Chapter. Obviously, they made about 1 million after that. But it's Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Okay. Now I'm not very well conversed when it comes to the Friday the 13th movies. So what made it a final chapter?
Spoiler alert: Corey Feldman kind of defeats Jason. He fools Jason by he cuts his hair off and trying to make himself look like young Jason, and he gets confused, and the machete falls through his head, and just great special effects by Tom Savini, and the axe kind of the machete just kind of goes straight through his head, and then you see his fingers kind of twitching still, and then Corey Feldman just brings up the machete and starts just hacking him, and it kind of cuts away to him in the hospital, and he kind of makes a scary face there at the end. It makes you think it's gonna continue on, and it actually did.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is just great. It's got you have to know the infamous Crispin Glover dance from that one. I would think you would know.
Oh, right.
No, you might have seen this on YouTube. I mean, if not, have a look, Pav. We won't spoil that tonight. Okay,
I will add it to the playlist. The Crispin Glover dance from Friday the 13th, part 4.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it's not the music they're playing in that movie is not what he was actually dancing to, because they actually had Back in Black by AC/DC, but they wanted too much money for the movie, so they changed it to a different song, but he's still technically dancing to AC/DC.
Right.
Kind of went dubbed over it. But yeah, I think that they actually, this one more than the other 3, and then certainly ones after, they kind of have more character development. We're getting Crispin Glover's character and another guy are talking about relationship issues. So driving up to the camp, so it gets a little more in depth with character, and we learn obviously about Corey Feldman and Tommy Jarvis, who is in the next 2 after that. So I think it's just a little, and it's most, if you go look fans of this franchise, most of them either put this or part 6 at number 1 or 2 usually.
Oh, right. So where is it for you, Neil? Because you're a massive horror fan.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I've got the box set of the first 10 Jason films. It's been a while, but I always remember the bit with Corey Feldman shaving his hair off it's the moment when he comes down the stairs when he's first. It gave me a chuckle, to be honest. But it's It's all right. It's a good slasher film. It's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah, it's got some good moments in, and like Tom Savini's effects, like Chris said, they are superb in this movie. They really are good.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grim.
Have a little look
And
at
it's
that.
it's not my favorite in the franchise, to be honest. If some people count Freddy versus Jason, some don't. Freddy versus Jason is my favorite just because I like it. Some people don't like it, but I like the crossover stuff. You know, it's not very story driven, but it's a great action. And then I actually also like the one I saw growing up the most was Part 7, and I like that one too because he actually has a formidable opponent with the Tina the Psychic,
Right?
who's kind of throwing stuff at him. So, but it's probably third or fourth on my list of favorite Friday.
Which one's Manhattan?
That is Part 8, which I don't mind it, but the fans of that franchise seem to hate it for whatever reason.
I think it's because it's cheap.
Oh, right.
Well, it should be called Jason. Well, some people call it Jason on a boat because he's on a boat most of the time, and also most of it. When they get to New York, it's filmed in Vancouver, except for the one shot of Times Square.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Number 4 for you, Neil, was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
It certainly was.
My number 4 was Rocky 4. So back to you, Chris, for number 3.
Okay. I think I remember hearing this in your trilogy podcast episode, and I think at least one of you hates this movie, maybe both of you, but mine is my number 3 is Lethal Weapon 4.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't hate it. I just
it was me that was a bit down on it, Chris. I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I just think it's not as good as the other movies.
Yeah, again, I think it may have a special place for me because it was the first one I could see in theaters.
Right.
And Jet Li, I like martial arts stuff and action like that. And it also changed thing. The first 3 was all about Murtaugh saying, I'm too old. But now Mel Gibson has joined him in that.
Yeah.
I'm too old stuff. So it kind of brings that around. And Chris Rock is funny. And the back and forth between Chris Rock and Joe Pesci alone with the phone stuff, that is just priceless, and that's worth it being high on my list anyway. So, yeah, I'm going with that one. Not that I don't like the others, but this one just holds a different special place for me. So,
I think it was the one thing that like Lethal Weapon didn't mean Mel Gibson in that movie. It was Jet Li was the Lethal Weapon, wasn't he? That was the thing. And the way that I can always remember that moment when he sort of dismantles the gun in like 2 seconds when they're fighting. And but yeah, there's talk that they're bringing that back as well, aren't they? And isn't Mel Gibson supposed to be directing number 5 apparently?
Loads of rumors.
Yeah,
I don't know how they're going to do that. They're all so old, and
yeah,
I mean, even Chris Rock is old at this point.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe he's retiring, and maybe it's 98 was when that came out. I guess their 2 kids are old enough to be police officers.
Be the grandkids, yeah. Wow, yeah, that wouldn't be good. Right, go on then, Neil. You're number 3.
So it's John Wick 4. I've only just recently watched this in the last couple of months. Very, very enjoyable. Very, very John Wick. The only reason it dropped down my list a bit is because of the length. It got a bit. I mean, it's choreographed beautifully, but I'll say that if you've seen it, the bit on the stairs just goes on far too long. Another bit's far too long, but Donnie Yen in it is superb. He's probably the highlight of the action bits, especially. Well, I won't say because you haven't seen this, have you yet, pal?
No, apparently it's out on Amazon Prime next Friday.
There you go. Told you it was coming.
I'll be able to watch it then.
Yeah, but it's 3 hours long.
Yeah,
which for a John Wick movie is a bit too much. They're perfect 1.5, 2 hour movies, but I mean, I've never seen so many people killed in a movie in my life. Let's just put it like that.
That's every movie, though, isn't it? It's amazing that there's still henchmen around with the people that get dispatched.
In this one, it is insane how many people they must have had in his army. God only knows. But you'll see what I mean. It's great action. There's great moments. It was just let down for being just a little bit too long.
Okay. Chris, John Wick fan?
I'm going to be probably, I think the other Patreons might actually pay to have me removed from Patreon to say this. Keanu Reeves and Chris Pratt. They are two, as human beings, I love them because I know, especially Keanu Reeves, all the stuff he does, and I've listened to YouTube videos about all the stuff that he does. And Chris Pratt is such a good guy. As actors, I just all I see is Bill and Ted. Keanu Reeves, his acting and Chris Pratt annoyed me. The first time I saw him was in the OC, the old TV show.
Yeah,
where he was Summer's boyfriend. He was obnoxious, and their acting bothers me more than again, as people they're great, but the acting is just I can't.
Keanu's one of those people that the less that he has to say, the better he is. As long as he doesn't have to speak. Go on, Neil. Go on, do that line, Neil, from Dracula. Come on.
I know where the bastard sleeps.
There you go. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. No, he's not the greatest actor, but that's why John Wick, to me, makes it all right, because he has very little to say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's perfect for him, that kind of thing. But when he's doing, like, Knock Knock, if you've ever seen that Eli Roth movie, he is terrible. He is laughably bad in that. It is a shocking performance from Keanu. But like you say, Chris, he's a lovely person, so you don't really want to have a go at him too much, do you? No. Okay, my number 3 was Rambo, so we've already spoken about that. So we're back to you again, Chris, for number 2.
Again, horror movies. That's about where I start going. Nothing but those. Scream 4 is my number 2.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I've seen it.
Seen 4,
a while ago. Yeah.
Have you seen 5 and 6?
I've seen 5. I haven't seen 6 yet.
I've not seen either of them, I must admit. No.
I would recommend seeing both. I mean, 6 is better than 5. I'm not going to spoil what happens in 5, but I will say in 6, Nev Campbell is not in it. So I would have 4 and 6 tied if it wasn't for. I mean, I kind of do have them tied. I would have 6 ahead of 4 if it wasn't Nev Campbell not being in it. But 6 gets bumped up a lot because I don't know if you can see my little poster back there, Jenna Ortega. Yeah. I could watch Jenna Ortega just stand there and read the phone book.
Yeah.
So, but no, part 4, I just love that because I thought Dewey was at his best because he wasn't the bumbling idiot that he was in the first 2, and even a little bit in 3. He was the sheriff, and he seemed to be he had his head on a lot more straight there. I loved, especially the end. Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it. What Emma Roberts does was brilliant. I remember seeing this with a friend in theaters, and I was just laughing the entire time when she is beating the shit out of herself to make it look like she was attacked by her ex-boyfriend or whoever it was, and she's throwing herself into the mirror, throwing herself through a table, and cutting herself, ripping her own hair out. It's just absolute gold. And I kind of wish they had kept her character alive so we could see her do something else. But yeah, I thought it had a lot of stuff in it, and it was almost back to the roots there after part 3, which again was another part 3 that I'm not a big fan of. And yeah, there's a lot of big name actors in it, and it's again, if Nev Campbell was in part 6, 6 would be ahead, but behind the first 2, Scream 4 would be my 3rd favorite of the Scream franchise, and I've grown to really love that franchise.
Oh, great. You're a fan of Scream as well, aren't you, Neil?
I enjoy Scream, yeah. I mean, I don't think they've ever topped the first one, I'll be honest.
No.
And I don't think they ever can because of the originality of it. But there's always great inventive killings. I mean, the way the policeman gets dispatched in the car is, I mean, how they ever got the knife into his skull. He must have had a hell of a lot of force to have done that. But it's original killings. And I do enjoy that they keep going back to Woodsboro and things like that. It holds through. The only thing I would have said that to the other 3, Wes Craven always brought this like atmosphere to the movies, a sense of dread, but somehow in the 4th one it is gone. It wasn't there, so I didn't find them quite as the 4th one and especially the 5th one not as creepy as it should have been.
Okay. Okay.
Six has some scary moments, so I would recommend watching that one.
Oh, it's on my list. It really is, Chris. It's on my list.
Okay, lovely. Another one to add there, Neil. Your number 2 then, Neil.
So it's Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. I think you said about the Harry Potter movies that Harry Potter's got better the more the more into the franchise we got. I think this is a strong franchise from the start of the week as being number 2, but number 4 is great. Brad Bird directed it. It's the bit with the big high rise in Saudi Arabia. No, not Saudi Arabia. Dubai, is it?
Dubai, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is where it really starts to be noticeable that he was doing stunts that you're like, holy fuck, should you really be doing that? Simon Pegg gets more of a role. Jeremy Renner obviously is in this one.
Alec Baldwin in that one, I think.
Yes, he is. Yeah. It's great cast, great direction, great special effects in it as well. With that sandstorm, looks really brutal. So I really like them, and like I said, I think they're only getting better. I haven't seen the newest one yet.
No, I haven't either.
But that will be watched as soon as I can. But yeah.
This was number 11 on my list. I must admit, it very, very nearly made my list, but Indiana Jones just knocked it out.
Which I find crazy. But also, I watched these. Whether you know, Chris, I've been sort of laid up this year this year with an injury. So I watched all the Mission Impossibles every day, all of them right up to till the new one came out, and not seen that. And they all stand out so well. It's just that number 2 has a lot of boring moments in, but by God, does it have some great stunt work in?
Yeah. They're good movies. Good movies.
Really
again, so a fan, Chris, or?
I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, so I like the Jack Reacher movies. I've seen 2 or 3 of these Mission Impossibles. I've seen every single one of them out of order, so it confuses me a little bit. But I had seen this one, and this was probably of the ones I've seen. This was my favorite, if I'm remembering it correctly, with Jeremy Renner in it.
That's it.
My favorite Tom Cruise role is I think less is more with him. My favorite Tom Cruise role is him in Tropic Thunder.
Right, yeah.
Is he's just brilliant in that.
I must admit, I'm the same as you, Neil. I think they're great movies, but I always get. So I just had a look. The Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout. They sort of meld into one for me. I can't remember what happens in each of them.
Well, I mean, Rogue Nation and Fallout, probably understandable because they sort of go from one to another, which is what I think the newer ones are going to do as well.
Yeah,
the stories are sort of linked, so I can understand those, but. As standalone movies, the 4th, I'd say 1 to 4 are standalone movies.
Yeah. Great ones. Okay, my number 2 is Mad Max: Fury Road. I don't think I've come out of a movie at the cinema as enthralled and just overblown by the spectacle of the whole thing. When I came out of the cinema, and it's one of those movies whenever I see it on the TV, I will watch it from where it is and watch it to the end. It is just an absolute masterpiece of filmmaking, and the fact that there's very little CGI, if any. It is all practical effects, and it shows you that you can make a great modern day action movie with minimal, special effects, if you like. It is just a tour de force and an amazing movie, and I can't believe it's taken so long to get another movie from that universe out. And there's a Furiosa prequel coming out, isn't there? Which again,
but is that George Miller? I don't know.
I think it is.
Well, if it is, then I have every faith because he seems to do these movies so well. I mean, it is you can tell it's a George Miller movie. The fact that he made Babe 2,
but it's the way that he makes it. It feels then it just runs from number 3 to number 4. Do you know what I mean? Even though it's obviously, I mean, you look at that compared to number 1 and the way that it's shot, where it's probably in 16mm film or whatever.
Yeah, and the speed,
the aesthetics of it all looks, but it's still shot in that style. There still are moments where it looks like it's sped up a little bit, and just it's just an absolute masterpiece.
I mean, to me, it ranks up there with Road Warrior number 2.
Yeah,
right up there.
Yeah,
because I think that's almost that's a great movie.
It is. Mad Max fan, Chris?
I don't. This is one franchise that has never even really come across my radar for the most part. I think the first two or three, I can't remember how many there are, and I
Cool.
think most of them. Okay, most of them I feel like came out before I was not before I was born, but when I was really young and I didn't even think about it. So
They
when
were
the
early
most,
80s. Yeah, well, to be fair,
yeah,
number three
Well,
was 85, wasn't it?
yeah,
86?
yeah, something 85, yeah,
It
85,
was,
I think,
yeah,
because
Mel
obviously
Gibson, just as he was becoming,
Tina
well,
Turner as
yeah,
well.
Tina Turner.
But the first one wasn't even in the 80s. It was like 78,
Yeah,
79.
I think it was, yeah.
And
But a
then
very, very low budget
yeah, it
movie.
was George Miller's first movie.
Yeah.
It's great where it all started.
But I would recommend it, Chris. I would thoroughly recommend dipping in and watching all of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
They're
I mean, the
great.
first one, the subject matter is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it is. It was always
It's
absolutely lumped in with video nasties in this
yeah.
country, wasn't it?
Well,
Mad
they
Max?
didn't help with the poster on the video where you could rent it with the, the leather glove and the car coming right up, and yeah.
Okay, before we reveal our number ones, we'll tell you our 10 to 2s. So, Chris, if you want to give us your countdown from 10 to 2, Neil will do the same, and then I'll do the same.
Okay, number 10 for me was American Reunion, the fourth movie in the American Pie franchise. Number 9 was Vegas Vacation, obviously the Vacation franchise. 8 was Rocky 4. Number 7 was Star Wars Episode 4. Number 6 was Die Hard 4. Number 5 was Avengers Endgame. Number 4 was Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Number 3 was Lethal Weapon 4. And then number 2 was Scream 4.
Lovely. Neil?
So number 10 is Rocky 4. Number 9, Shrek Forever After. Number 8, Rambo. Number 7, Thunderball. Number 6, Jurassic World. Number 5, The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 1. Number 4, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Number 3, John Wick 4. Number 2, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Wonderful. And mine was number 10, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yay! 9, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. 8, Jurassic World. 7, Toy Story 4. 6, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. 5, Ghostbusters Afterlife. 4, Rocky 4. 3, Rambo. And 2, Mad Max Fury Road. So, Chris, what is your number 1 fourth movie in a franchise?
My number 1 comes from my favorite film franchise of all time, and that is Halloween 4.
Ooh.
Okay.
The Return of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
The Halloween's my favorite movie of all time. I thought about there was a 45-year convention anniversary convention just this past weekend in California. Thought about going to it, but I will go to the 50th reunion when it comes around. I love the first one's my favorite movie of all time, and the second one is very, very good. It's my second favorite, and the third one, the third one is again not Michael Myers, so that's why I didn't want to. There's another reason I didn't want to do part 3s. And 4 is just if the mask wasn't such shit, and they didn't have the actor playing Michael in these huge, they had him in these huge shoulder pads, and he just looked like he was. I mean, he looked ridiculous. If they had the regular, even didn't even have to be it could have been the part 6 match, which was really good. If they had that and he wasn't in the pads, it probably would be number 2 on my list. It goes back to basics. It's him chasing his niece this time, and there are plenty of scary moments with him. There's good work with camera and lighting in the fog, and this was the one. It was written right before a writer's strike, ironically enough, since we just had one. It was written about. The guy wrote it in a few days because the writer's strike was about to happen. So considering that, it turned out to be a great movie. I think most people have started to grow to love it. And the opening shots in this movie, I'm normally just a guy that's like, all right, I just want to, escape from movies and see action and, comedy or whatever. But the opening shots just give away perfect, like, fall Halloween. If you didn't see what the title of the movie was, you would think, okay, this is probably a Halloween movie, because they went away from filming in California to being in Salt Lake City, Utah. So it was just the opening shots of the fall weather and pumpkins and all this stuff. It's one of maybe the best opening shots of a film I've ever seen personally.
Where did you stand on the remakes, the newer ones from a few years back?
The David Gordon Green one.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. 2018 has grown on me. After seeing Kills and Ends, it's definitely moved up. Kills, again, after Ends came out, Kills has moved up a little in my opinion, but Ends just still pisses me off to no end. It's not about Michael. And then they look like they're gearing towards putting this other guy as the killer, and then he dies, and then Michael comes in, and he was supposed to be human again, allegedly, and then he's getting up from all these gunshots, and then he's hiding in a cave. It's just, I just, again, the first one, the 2018 was good. Kills is okay, and the last one was just shit.
Yeah.
And I know they're coming out with it. That now they're talking about coming out with a video game and talking about a TV series based on Halloween 3 and a new movie potentially. And if Paramount gets the rights to it, we could have a Michael versus Jason movie, which I would love to see.
Wow. It seems like they keep bringing it back, though, don't they? It's almost like Jason. Halloween just never dies. It's just
an iconic horror figure, isn't it? He's up there with the Universal ones now, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes a lot of money too.
Absolutely. Right, I've already written down your number one, Neil, because I think I know what it is. But Neil, what's your number one?
Go on, what is it?
Is it Mad Max Fury Road?
It is Mad Max Fury Road. I think this is a very established and fantastic movie. If you're a fan of the Mad Max franchise, it won't disappoint. But even if you're just a fan of pure action, the way George Miller is and the cinematography that's in it have done these action sequences and car chases and the dread that's come in, I just think it's almost up there as a perfect movie for me. Now I know a lot of people find it boring. I appreciate what they're saying, but they're wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Can't see what, a lot of that argument, but yeah, I put in when you were talking about it. Obviously I would have had another film in there if I'd have even thought about it or read about it. But
there you go.
Yeah,
that's your number one. My number one, it's in Chris's top 10. And Neil completely forgot about it. It's Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
I've spoken about this movie so many times. I cry every time I watch it at certain points. It's got one of the greatest scenes in a movie ever in the Avengers Assemble moment. And it's the culmination not just of that movie, but of 10 years of masterful storytelling and story making, which is something that DC, and to be fair, is something that Marvel need to get back to. Because they have really dropped the ball since Avengers Endgame.
Big time. I think they're in danger of being overtaken by DC with what they got planned, and James Gunn now on board with DC.
Well, you would possibly hope so, but
I got a feeling they're going to be sort of left behind.
Yeah.
Just a quick question to you both. You both put Endgame in your top 10s. Which one do you prefer, Endgame or Infinity War? I mean, if you had to pick one of the two.
Chris?
Endgame. I think I actually ranked Marvel. I'll look at my phone in a minute. I ranked all the Marvel movies. Endgame is, if it's not number one, it's up there pretty high. So I would pick Endgame.
I would do the same.
Yeah,
I would do the same because it's very hard to do time travel and do it in a way that's satisfying. But the fact they went back and did from certain scenes in the rest of the movies from the 10 years before, and that scene at the end where you have
absolutely.
I can remember when they said they were going to try and make an Avengers movie. I thought, how are they going to do that with like 4 or 5 big characters all in one movie? How are they going to do that? And the fact they did that, and then they topped it with Civil War. Then they topped it again with Endgame. It almost feels like there's going to be a crash, because how can you top something as gigantic as that? And the splash picture of Thanos and his army one side and all of these Avengers and superheroes the other side, it's just something that just blows your mind. And I can remember every time I see that scene, I have tears running down my face, but a big smile on my face, because it is everything you want to see in a movie. It's everything you want to see in that kind of movie anyway.
Absolutely. It's become a cinematic icon
Absolutely.
of the scene. But it's why I've always said that Marvel shouldn't have made another film for a few years after. They should have stopped.
But then, like Chris said, it's money, isn't it? That's what it is.
It's all about the money.
It's money. Yeah. But they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit.
Story-wise, controversially, I prefer Infinity War.
Well, you would, because you're a dark son of a bitch, aren't you?
I like that. It's like the Deathly Hallows. You like number 2. I think I prefer number 1.
Oh, dear.
The chase, the story. I always like the build-up. I really invest in the build-up. Bit like the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. I think is the better movie of the trilogy. But I think that's just because of what I like rather than what I know.
Yeah, you're a strange being, Neil. I mean, you never even had Avengers Endgame in your top 10. So,
well, I forgot about it. And plus, like I said, these people on the internet then who put these lists to give me some inspiration because I was really struggling. Need to put it in theirs.
They do. They do. Right, we've got some honourable mentions. Rick Tyndall said Live Free or Die Hard, Lethal Weapon 4, Thunderball, and John Wick 4. Stu Grant said Halloween 4, Mad Max Fury Road, Bride of Chucky, Psycho 4, Jaws 4.
Oh,
goodness me, Stu. Muppet Christmas Carol. Pink Panther, I think he's going in the Muppets universe. It was the fourth movie. Pink Panther Strikes Again, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Rocky 4. Oh, I don't feel so bad about Indiana Jones now when he's put Jaws 4 and Psycho 4 in there.
Jesus.
Me. Aaron Capone Langan said Critters 4, not saying it's good or anything, but it was the last good Critters movie before whoever has the rights now screwed it all up.
I got a feeling Leo DiCaprio's in number 4.
In number 4, is he?
Critters, yeah, number 4. A very young one.
They all got to start somewhere. Jennifer Yuan Kang said Fast and Furious 4 finally brings Brian and Toretto back together. Stuart Turvey says Caravan of Courage. Question mark. And Paul Osgood says Carry On Constable, which is the 4th movie in the British Carry On series of movies, which I'll be listening to one in a few hours when I go to bed. Anyway, that's it. We've done it. Could it possibly be our most controversial episode in this is episode 111? This could be our most controversial episode. Who knows? Yeah. I'll wait for the emails and the YouTube comments to come rolling in.
But I will apologise for Endgame right now. I will apologise that I forgot it.
Well, it's good that you apologise finally for one of your decisions, Neil, because you've never apologised for the Ecto 1. So let's not go...
Don't forget, I'll just mention Shining.
Yes, let's not mention that. Okay, so before we say our goodbyes, Neil, do you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch with us and all that gubbins?
Of course, I would love to. Chris, listen along. Here we go. You can find us on all the social medias at Top 10 Pods. Give us a click, give us a like, give us a follow. Email us at toptenpods@hotmail.com. Ask us anything you'd like to, or even just drop us a suggestion for a top 10. Come help support the podcast at patreon.com/top10pods. All sort of rewards like yourself, Chris. You could be a guest on the show. Check out all of the links via the LINKTREE. You can find the link in the show notes. And please come subscribe, leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcast from.
There you go. Avengers Endgame, full of superheroes. Chris, you're our superhero because you're one of our top heads. Thank you so much for your support. And we'll work out maybe the best 5th movies in a series. That'd be tough. We'll work out something a bit easier to work out for your next visit to us, I think.
I think it ought to be horror related after Chris said how much he loves a horror film.
Maybe we'll look at that then. Maybe we'll look at something like that. But Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Pav. Thank you very much, Chris. Been great to meet you, my friend.
I'm just trying to get rid of this fly that's buzzing around. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching and listening. And let's go start the countdown.
10.